All right, hopefully we don't run into any more issues. So with Maya open, I'm going to go ahead and import the file that I just made. So that's going to be under Bryson. I'm going to grab the body goblin that I just exported and then drag and drop it into the scene. And there it is. Okay. All right, so go ahead and click. And I need to make this a live surface. Live surface means basically whenever I use the quad draw tool, it's going to actually stick to the surface of the mesh. If you don't do this, it's not going to stick to it. Okay, so make sure you do it. Cool? Cool. All right, right here you'll see this magnet. Click that with this selected. And you'll see the name of it pop up right here, and then you'll see that you can no longer actually click on this mesh. Alrighty? Okay. Then you're going to go in and click on under Mesh Tools, Quad Draw, and I'm going to go and turn on Symmetry, and this is going to be Object X. And then when I click on the mesh, you'll see that we'll get dots that actually stick to the surface. All right? You guys with me so far? Okay. So real quickly, just kind of how this works. Clicking on the mesh will put down a vertice. You need 4 vertices to make a face. Actually, technically you need 3 because it could be a try, but we're going for quads, so make sure you put down 3, or 4, I mean. And then if you hold down Shift, you'll see the little blue face pop in. Click to pop in a face. And then if you hold down Control, you'll see that you can actually put in an edge loop. And what will happen is as you put these in, you'll see that the shape of this actually deforms to kind of fit the surface a little bit more. Okay? If you want to delete, Control Shift, click, and it will delete the face for you. Any questions about that? Okay. All right, so let's start working on this. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of draw down a center line and just go down the center and try to get a series of vertices, and I'm going to be also kind of drawing these vertices around the contours of the body where I'm going to be wanting the face loops to go. So right here under the breast, and then I'm going to go ahead and kind of make my first face loop. And then hold down Shift. And I can actually click and drag the edges, and then they will snap together. And let's say if I don't like how this is kind of contouring to the chest, I can actually add in an edge loop, and you'll see that actually makes a little bit of a curve. Okay? So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do this in sections, and then I will join the sections together. A little bit later on after I've kind of gotten everything together. But I'm going to also be keeping an eye on like how many vertices or edge loops I'm actually having in a certain area, so then I can make sure and kind of create a matching number of faces for them to actually connect to. So I'm kind of looking like this, and I'm going to be making somewhat of a matching set. You'll notice that the belly button isn't showing up here. So we will need to put something in order to accommodate that belly button. Now, probably something you guys might be thinking as well, just throw some edge loops in. And that definitely puts in some sort of indentation for the belly button, but you'll notice that we have a lot of edge loops going around here. Do we necessarily need that many edge loops going around the waist right now? Not really, we don't really need that many. So what we could do is maybe think about redoing this area so that we can basically limit the number of edge loops coming out of that area, okay? So what I want to do is actually create a couple of basically face loop rings that are going to go around the belly button, and then we can kind of localize that topology to that one area. Let's try a little bit differently. This will fit the shape a little bit better. And then just snap these two together. And then we just need to kind of go across and fill in this hole. You'll see that they get just a little bit sticky kind of when they get really close together. So something like that. There we go. And so that will accommodate the shape of that belly button a little bit better. Now we have a lot of edge loops kind of coming out, and this area honestly just doesn't have very many. So I'm going to be kind of redirecting some of these edges up and over to take care of this extra density that we're dealing with. So we'll do, maybe this one goes across into here. So we'll go and take, this face loop's going to go out just a little bit. You know, maybe we'll throw in just an extra one so it can kind of cleanly just go across. And then this is going to go up. Up and over like that. So it actually loops back around. And so that'll take care of this one. And then we'll get an extra one there. So just trying to work and or trying to get quads to kind of clean this up just a little bit more. Okay. And there we go. Snap. All right, there we go. And then we can hold down Shift. We can actually kind of smooth it out a little bit, and it'll just relax it. And I find this is pretty useful if you have like some density problems. You can use that to kind of smooth out the topology just in general. Any questions so far? No? Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
So we're mostly shooting for quads, but a few three-sided angles are just fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Just a couple tries. Don't focus on those. Try to get rid of them as much as possible. All right. Okay, so that'll be the torso. Let's talk about the face. So with this guy, we want to make sure that we have the correct face loops are going around in the right places. So for me, I'm always focusing on the mouth, the eyes, and the nose. And then we need one that's going to go around like the muzzle area right here. And so we're going to be putting it, for him it's going to be a little bit difficult because he's got such a weird looking face, like his proportions are just really kind of stretched out. But we can still at least try to put that same topology flow in here, okay? So I'm going to go and start off with his eyes, and I'm going to make, same thing with the belly button again, I'm going to go around with a face loop that's going to just kind of encircle it. And the reason why it's really important here is, anyone want to take a wild guess why it might be important to have good topology around the eyes and mouth? Exactly. Like, we have a lot of movement in this area. There's a lot of muscles in just this whole region of the face, because this is where we get all of our emotions from, right? So if we put in the right type of topology here, it allows us to be able to emote the character properly. If we don't have the right type of topology, then we're limited in the type of emotions we can pull off with that character. And if we can't get the right type of emotions, then the animation doesn't really come through very well, no matter how well it's done. So I'm just kind of moving this around, and we'll put an extra one here. All right, so something like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and go around kind of the eyelid. You want to make sure that, again, you have clean face loops as you're doing this. You do not want to accidentally start spiraling in. And that's way easier to do than it sounds. You'll be surprised. Especially like on the fingers. People tend to have spiral patterns on the fingers, and that's, yeah. It's not the best thing to do. All right. So the back of the socket, I'm going to go and put down a face, and then put down a couple more. Kind of relax these a little bit, and then just continue. Just continue that pattern around. If you don't find that you're able to get something to kind of connect up, move one of the other vertices around that you're kind of trying to get it connect to, because sometimes Maya will see like a surface in one way when you're really trying to connect it up in a different way. So if you try to move that face around a little bit, you can trick the Z remesher tool, or not Z remesher, but the quad draw tool, to basically make it go in the way you want it. You would think it would just work all the time, but you'll see sometimes I'll try to put in a face, but it keeps trying to connect to something else. So I'll just grab like one of the vertices and I'll just move it just a little bit, and then it's like, oh, that's where I should be going, and it actually will connect in properly. So don't get too stressed out like here if it's not connecting in properly. Like I'll move this vertice over, and just move the mouse around to where it actually snaps in correctly, and then I can move the vertice back to where I want it. Or if it's just not connecting at all, I might actually create like a couple false vertices and then use that and connect them up to the correct sister vertices they should be going into. So something like that. And then I'll just go ahead and kind of connect in here. And I'm gonna have a try anyways, but like this is the back of the eye socket, so I'm not really caring if there's a try in here. I mean, who's gonna look at the back of your eye socket? But you wanna make sure you can actually fill that little hole right here. Just kind of, there we go. And then just kind of smooth it out. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw in a few more edge loops just so we have a good amount of mobility right there in this region. And it's okay to throw in more edge loops here because they're all localized, because they're all just a continuous face loop that's just going around. So we can throw in a fair number. I wouldn't go insane with it, but you can throw in quite a bit and it's not going to cause any issues. And I would be careful though with relaxing because sometimes this stuff has a tendency to kind of collapse a little bit. And you want to make sure none of these vertices or edges are occluding each other. So make sure they're all nice and kind of even. So there we go. So that's what I'm looking for. You're going to want to carry this pattern up a bit more. So I would probably go ahead and just keep working and bring it, say, up above the brow and then down towards like the middle of the cheek. Before you get out of this kind of spider web pattern that we're doing. And then I'm going to do what I refer as the like the Robin mask, you know, Robin from Batman. So his mask isn't, you know, like a full mask, right? Like he just has like the raccoon eyes thing going on. So that's what I'll make, is like something that kind of looks like a Robin mask that gives me kind of the general layout of my face. So something like that. And then I can kind of build off of that, topologically speaking, for the rest of the forehead. There's a really excellent, this has nothing to do with this particular tool, but Dunlay Win on YouTube has a excellent face modeling tutorial. It's just all like just plainer face modeling in Maya. But if you ever want like a really good hard crash course in like proper topology, like his is like the one to look for. Let's see if I can find it. He's the one I actually learned how to model faces from in Maya. This is it. How to model a 3D head. He actually goes through modeling a 3D head. I think he does a hand and torso. So he's got a really excellent tutorial to watch. But with this one, the fun thing is that he actually goes through and uses the quad draw tool to draw directly on the artwork, and then like pulls it forward to match the side view of the artwork. And so it's a really weird kind of 2D, but then it suddenly becomes 3D type of exercise that he's working with. But I definitely would like just kind of watch this because he does an excellent job at explaining topology really well. So I definitely would watch that. Anyway, tangent done. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep continuing. So this will just follow up around his massive brow. And you always want to make sure that this topology is working for the mesh that you're doing, so make sure you want it to match. So like this right here, you'll see the curve of the brow is not matching the curve of the topology we're putting down. So we're probably going to want to put like an extra edge loop in there so we have some extra vertices to work with. And so now it's kind of matching a little bit better. And since we want it to kind of wrap over, we're going to want a nice face loop to kind of go along the brim of that brow. And so we're just going to do kind of a short face loop right there. All right. So kind of going with this, or just kind of making this initial pattern. I'm not going to be able to do the whole head today, but at least you'll see like where I kind of get the groundwork laid in, and then really it just becomes a game of like filling in the blanks in order to get everything to fit. So with him, I'm going to go ahead and do another face loop, and this is going to go around the nose. The nose is going to be important, especially for like this guy, because since he's kind of piggy, I would imagine like he can like make that kind of nose turn around a little bit and kind of oink. So it's going to be important to get some good topology on that nose. Any questions so far? No? We all still tired? Yeah? Trust me, if I could push this class back to 12, I absolutely would. So just like the eyes, this is going to be kind of ringing itself around going in. But unlike the eyes, since we have two nostrils, well, I guess it would actually be like the eyes. They're just really close. We're going to have this two face loops that are going to be going on either side. So actually I'm going to delete that one. Go right here. There we go. So do one right here. So now we're redirecting that topo flow around. And it's going to be going right here. Okay, so just like that. And then you will basically just fill in the hole right here. We have two gaps right here and here. We basically could just put in a single vertice, and this would turn it into a quad, or you could just leave it as a tri if that's not going to be a flexible area. But actually, this would be a quad by itself since it does have four sides, but it's not going to be it's not going to be two quads. So with the symmetry on, it's not going to really want to give us a quad in this area. So we need to go and put one in with symmetry turned off. Let me turn off. I'll turn you off. Okay, there we go. So hold down shift, and now we have a quad that's kind of redirecting in 2 different ways. And then one right here as well. And then since we have this one and this one, I kind of like to match these up somehow. So like I'll probably go in, turn symmetry back on. And then just have these two face loops basically just circle back into each other. So just like that. And then the rest of this becomes fill in the blank. Okay? Does anyone have any questions about that? No? We good? Okay. Okay. All right. Then I will go in and pull down from here, go down to the bottom of the lip. And this is going to be tricky because the lip actually kind of cuts in a little bit because of the way the mesh is made. If you want to make it just a little bit easier on yourself, the way that I generally model character mouths is I will close them, but to make retopologization a little bit easier, you can kind of just leave a slight crack in between the top and the bottom lip. So just a quick little helpful tip there. But I will always take a couple of faces, go down to basically as close to the bottom of this lip as I can get, and then I will follow this along and just wrap it around the mouth. So when you get this close, it gets really kind of tricky to mess with or to get it to attach. Just gotta slow down and just kind of have patience with it. You're also going to make sure that you're kind of matching up the number of vertices for the top and the bottom lip, unless there's like a really big incongruency with the mesh for like the top and bottom lip of your character or your creature. I generally will try to make the top and bottom just match as much as possible, even though they're not going to be connected, and I hope to God they're not connected. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to open that mouth. But you want to try to get it as close as possible. Okay. And then once you have that, just kind of go and move it in. Out. Just trying to smooth this out just a little bit. All right. Okay, there we go. He has a pretty defined cheek right here. So I probably will go ahead and take like this face and follow it up along the cheek. To right about there, and then probably go ahead and take some of these faces and have it all kind of meet here at the base of the ear. And then that'll all just kind of flow directly into the earlobe itself. And then this will be the bottom lip. And then that muzzle face lip I was talking about, we can try to get it in here. For him, it's going to be a little bit difficult because he doesn't have very much of a nose ridge to work with, but it's going to go across the top of the nose ridge. And we're going to bring it down the side of the nose, right here. So you'll see that we have this clean-ish, needs to be smoothed out a bit, but it's a clean-ish face loop going from the top of the bridge of the nose down the side of the cheek. It's going to go into the cheek right here, down under the cheek. Corner of the mouth, right there. And this is going to kind of frame the whole mouth area. And then it's going to go down right into where the chin is. So something just like that. And then that would join up right here. See, it's not really connecting, but we can run an edge loop or two to kind of help it out. So we'll run 2 right there. Relax that so it fits a little bit better with the actual face mesh. And then attach across as we need to. And so as we get closer and kind of like filling in these holes and stuff, you'll see it really, I've said it before, but it really just does become a kind of a game of fill in the blank. because then you have these areas right here that we're kind of cordoning off that we kind of just need to solve independently. And for me, I feel like it makes it a lot easier to work with rather than looking at this whole, monolith of a character that we're dealing with, of being like kind of intimidated by looking at just one big mesh. If you kind of break it down in individual pieces, then it becomes much more solvable. Okay? So if you just focus on putting in the base face loops first, which are going to be the ones that we worked on, so the ones like around the mouth, around the head, like the eyes, kind of the brow region right here, the nose, getting something in for the waist, working on the individual limbs, it makes it way, way easier to kind of bounce off of that, okay? Rather than just starting and then just going, okay? Think of it as kind of like I said with ZBrush, like you build the mannequin first, because like in life drawing, you kind of like build, the entire, you kind of start doing like a gestural sketch first to get your proportions right. This is kind of a similar way. Like you're starting off with kind of getting your frame in, and then you fill in the details. Okay? Yeah? All right. Any questions so far? No? Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get the neck face loops in. So definitely, again, with these high mobility zones like necks, arms, fingers, stuff like that, you want to make sure that you have enough topology there for there to be some sort of movement. Even like with a short little neck like this, we're going to want definitely some amount of density here in the neck, like edge loop density, in order for him to be able to look around. Otherwise, if he doesn't have that, then he's really just going to be like twisting his head off, and that's not good. Okay, a little bit of an issue here. Looks like it cut through, so we just need to back out. Let's get rid of this. There we go. So now it's going to behave for us. Snap it together. Snap. Okay. All right. So again, we get this face loop in. I'm going to go ahead and put in an edge loop here just to give it a little bit more mobility. I'm going to bring this edge loop up just a little bit. Okay. So we're going to throw in one here and just kind of go in and smooth it out a little bit. Okay. And then we can go ahead and kind of connect in what's going to be the back of the head with the front of the head. And then the back of the neck as well. Pretty much anywhere where you're going to have any sort of like large appendage or anything that's going to have any sort of movement to it, you're going to want to go ahead and just do a clean face loop that just goes all the way around it. So we can have that type of flexibility in there. So him with his ears definitely are going to be some level of flexibility. So I'm going to just go ahead and kind of move this over, and we'll just kind of add in faces. So that first face for that area that I kind of drew in was a little bit of a stretch because I was trying to go down to here. So I didn't really want that there, so that's why I went back in and drew in another one. So we got that one right here. And then that's going to allow us to kind of wrap this face loop around the base of the ear. And then we'll just kind of keep going. All right, so spirals, if I wasn't, which I was kind of halfway paying attention, but if I continued this loop going up and around, you'll notice that it's actually going to be starting a spiral pattern. So we don't want that. So I need to go back and basically just move this point to connect right here, and then that'll keep it a clean edge loop. Do you guys see what I'm talking about, where I'm going to run into a spiral pattern? Yeah? Okay. So just one right there. I'll throw in a edge right here. And let's go and throw in another edge here. And don't smooth it too much. It's going to go really weird. Okay, I'll bring this up to basically the base of the ear is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get this to conform as much as possible. Okay. And then you would just wrap it around. All right, so on the top of the head, there's really no flexing or movement of, we don't have any, like up here, just nothing really up here moves. Like we don't have eyes, we don't have tentacles, we don't have like antennae or anything. So for this, I don't really need a whole lot of density. I can kind of just let it be kind of a barren desert area if I wanted to in terms of like density of topology. But I do need to kind of deal with the fact that I have a ton of stuff down here. So I kind of just dead end stuff just straight across the forehead usually and just wrap it down around the other side in order to kind of kill off a lot of these extra edge loops. So what I'm saying is try to avoid doing too many edge loops that go down the back of the head. A lot of times new modelers will just have a literal crap ton of edge loops that go up out of the face that are going to be the edges that go through the eyes and through the nose and cheeks. Just go up, straight up and over, and then back, down the back, and then up and through the crotch, and then basically just goes and connects up through the bottom of the face again. Don't do that. Don't do that whatsoever. There's no reason for it. It creates unnecessary amounts of topology, and it's going to create a lot of weird issues when you're trying to rig it. It just gets in the way, honestly. A lot of times it also kind of reinforces hard edges in areas that are supposed to be maybe more organic, because you're going to have multiple edge loops together. When you hit 3 and smooth it, it's going to create a crease. And we don't necessarily need a crease like in the belly. That's supposed to be kind of a round, soft area. So we don't really need that hard edge. So try to avoid it as much as possible. And the way that I do it is by running edge loops as much as I can up and over and back down into each other. So like this. So this face loop here is just going up and over and back down, and so that eliminates this face loop. It also kind of basically cordons off this area so that I'm kind of gently pushed in the direction of basically relinking these faces from going straight up through the head into basically redirecting them down into the other side of the face. So I'm kind of being goaded into doing that. So there we go. So that'll solve a number of issues for us. And I'm actually going to go and take that face. I'm going to go and just get rid of it. And I need an extra edge loop right here. And so I'm just kind of making this face just a little bit smaller, and that's going to give me the ability to put in some extra faces right through here. So I'm going to throw an edge loop that's going up and over. So that's fine to do. This one will go up and over as well. And this one's going to get a little tricky because I don't really want too many edges, but I might be safe because since I'm kind of looping stuff back in and over, I actually have a safety, or I have a couple extra edges that I can throw in before I run into issues. So I can actually throw in one here. I'll just go and fill that in. And I'm going to have a little bit more flexibility here towards the ear. So I'm going to make sure this is a quad, and then this can be a tri. And then if I throw in an edge loop here to turn that into a quad, that's just going to go down and over. And so then that can just become a quad on its own. So we're good there. So now the top of the head looks pretty good. So we successfully got rid of a bunch of these edges, and we left the head kind of, relatively simplified. Just need to fill in this hole now. Actually, I'm going to go continue that edge loop since we still have that brow, and go ahead and just throw in that face right there. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of pull this edge over. This is going to quad off. And I have two that I can do, so I'm just going to run one across. Okay, just like that. This is going to be a little bit tight right through here, so I'm going to kind of go in and loosen that up just a little bit. So I'm just going to go in and relax it and see if I can get it to smooth out. I don't really have any super heavy detail in that area, so I'm just going to kind of go in and move it around just a little bit. And in some areas that do have a little bit more detail, I'm going to make sure and pull those vertices back down into those kind of crevices so that it deforms properly the way I'm wanting it to. So something like that. In kind of a weird way, your topology should have a bit of a aesthetic appeal to it. Like when you look at it, you should see that there's kind of almost like a beauty to it. It's kind of an odd thing to say now because you guys haven't really gone in and done much of this, but when you see really nice topology, it should look pretty. It should look really nice. Stuff that has a ton of n-gons, ton of tries, really poorly thought out topology flow is kind of ugly. When you have something that's done well, it'll look really, really cool. All right. So just filling in all that, the ears. We've got a good start on that. The chest. All right, so let's talk about the arms. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in a defined face loop for the arm. And then the shoulder can get a little bit tricky. It's not too bad though, but it can be a little tricky. All right, again, putting in that face loop right here. make sure we got that. And so the we'll need to attach it in to the shoulder itself. So I'm going to go ahead and make kind of a attachment point that we're going to be using. And this is going to be basically just this area right here. Okay. So the tricky part is that we're going to be needing a little bit extra topology here on really kind of like this part of the shoulder where it kind of hinges down. So it's not going to be just a straight kind of a T-joint where it just kind of just welds in on the sides. We want just a little bit extra room so that when we like pick up our arm this way, we have extra room for it to form and kind of collapse properly. And then it'll need a little bit extra topology here so that when we bring the arm down, it actually can stretch, okay? Not enough is going to create some really weird deformations, and it's not going to look as good as it should, okay? Okay. So that's a really simplified way to do it, but basically I'm just kind of going around. And so if you look at like the entire chest and back, the topology flow is going to basically have kind of this cowl shape where the face flow is just going to go straight across the top of the shoulders, and then it's going to go down across the chest. Actually, we'll do come on. So something kind of like that. And then you're just going to basically go in and just kind of fill it in.
So are we going to have to be having all of like this mapping done by the time we turn it in on Wednesday? Or?
So for this particular project, I'm not going to require you to do all of the retopologization, but this is something you absolutely will have to do on the next mesh, on the next project that you're doing. Okay? Okay.
So the mesh on the partner project,
partner project, yes. Yeah. Okay. And so that'll be the shoulders. It kind of, you're just going to basically at this point just kind of go down and extend that clean face loop that we made. It's going to go down through the biceps, the upper arm, triceps. It's going to go back down basically to here, and then we're going to go in and have it extend down into the hand. Okay, so that should be pretty easy. But you're going to want to make sure you have a clean, again, clean face loops for all of these joint areas with enough topology for flexibility. So for the, honestly, a good count is going to be at least 3 edge loops for every major joint. So 1 above, 1 below, and 1 at the joint. Sometimes I'll go with more, but that's a good recommendation to kind of start off with, just to do at least 3. Anything below that, you're going to get a lot of pinching issues. So kind of have to go with that. Okay. All right. So that'll give us our wrist right here. All right. Any questions so far on this project or on this demo? I can, yeah, I'll show you the topo flow alike for hands. So if you look at your hand, you can kind of sort of see where the topology flow would kind of lie in here, just kind of inherently. Again, with every one of these major digits, we're going to have a good, clean face loop at the base. But with the thumb, this is going to be a little bit different because where would you say the first joint for the thumb is? Huh? It's right here. So if you kind of bring your thumb over, it isn't starting to move from here, it's moving from here. And so we need to have a good face loop that starts all the way down there in order for us to be able to bring the thumb across and touch a pinky or touch the inside of the hand. Okay? So for that one, we're going to want to go in and start way down there. Actually, honestly, I can kind of just do one really big face loop and then just run some edge loops in to kind of make it go a little bit quicker. So we'll put in this one to go all the way to the base of the thumb. so that'll be a face loop right there, and I'll go and throw in a couple more edge loops. You'll see again it deforms. And just go in and smooth it out. And okay. And I'm going to take this across.
So that's kind of what you meant by 3 edge loops at the base of joints.
Yeah, wherever it's going to be moving, you need to have like at least 3. So for this guy, since he has such flexibility in the thumb, you honestly are going to be having more, just because of the nature of the joint itself. So let's say that edge is going to go all the way down to the center of the palm, like basically this line right here. And you're going to want to have like more edge loops down there, just so everything can move properly. And then you can kind of join it in to the rest of the wrist. And then this will go up along the side, kind of right there. Kind of relaxing it. Okay. All right. There we go. And this guy right here will go across. We'll connect him. Okay. So it's kind of looking a little bit like a mitten, like a fingerless mitten, I guess. Okay. All right. Let me show you something with the kind of something that I think that speeds up the workflow a little bit for doing stuff like fingers and arms and limbs. Because otherwise you're going to be sitting here for like a long time just making row after row after row. And this actually kind of helps out a little bit. So I'm going to hit Q, go back to my regular mesh. You'll see that the Retopo mesh that we were working on, it's just a mesh. Like it's just, you know, just a normal mesh. But it still has the magnet turned on right here. So our original mesh is still live. And so that means that basically if I go in and try to grab like a vertice of this one that we've been working on, it's still going to be attached no matter where I move it. So that presents a couple of opportunities for us to be able to kind of continue modeling this. And so what I could do is basically go in, grab this edge loop, and hit extrude, and then bring it up. And you'll see that it actually stays attached to the mesh, which is kind of cool. So this will be kind of a quick way to kind of just extrude a bunch of face loops, but they will stay attached to their base mesh. So hit Control E, and then I'm just moving up along there. Okay. So let's do mesh display. Where is it? All right, so I'm going to go back into Quad Draw, Mesh Tools, Quad Draw. And you'll see that now it's just been kind of extruded up and around. And that was pretty quick. That was a lot faster than us drawing in all the vertices. Right? Okay. This tool is meant to be really quick and kind of fast to get you moving. So if you find yourself getting kind of like bogged down, you know, try to think of like other ways to move just a little bit faster. You know, if you need to cover like a large area really quickly, maybe instead of going in with like individual points and trying to like make tiny little faces, make, you know, something that's really big. So like say if you want to do like a really quick forearm, do just a really fast face loop that covers a lot of surface area. Something like this. And have it just go all the way around, and then throw in edge loops all along here, and it will just snap to that surface for you. So that maybe is a faster way of creating those face loops than, you know, going in and doing it individually. Again, also swapping in and just extruding it. Again, very quick way to do it. All right. So he does have some joints here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in just a couple extra edge loops along the thumb. Just to make sure we accommodate for that flexibility that's going to be in the thumb area right here. Okay. And then that's how I would handle the rest of the fingers as well. All right. The thumb, or the tips of fingers can be a little bit tricky just because you're trying to basically close off a bunch of stuff at once. So this is going to be very similar to doing, like, say, the eye. A lot of times I'll just do a kind of a cap face. And then work from there. Come on. It's really not wanting to. There we go. Put that face in there. All right. Really along these thin edges can be really difficult to put in the faces properly. So readjust camera, move around, put in extra vertices, move around, see if you can get anything to catch. Then you should be good. Any questions, guys? No? Push that one into there. Snap that in. There we go. So I have 2 tries here. I can turn this into a quad, a couple of quads. There we go. And then just smooth it out just a little bit. Again, thin area, be careful. You don't want it to like jump across and like connect with something else. There you go, top of the thumbnail. And then 2 tries, run a edge through them. You got 2 quads now. Excellent. And that's your thumb. You do the same thing for the fingers, same thing for the toes, and pretty much the same thing for the legs. All right. Once you're done, make sure you don't have any holes or anything left in the body. Definitely like just kind of take it out, just hide this mesh by itself so you just have like just the one that you were creating, and just go around, look at it, make sure there's no holes or anything in there, and then you're done. You have the finished mesh. Yes, ma'am.
And then we would definitely make their own individual meshes for like those subtools, right? For the clothing and everything else.
Yeah, so like your clothing should not be the same mesh as the body. You should not be sculpting the clothing onto the body. You're going to be extracting it and using it as a separate piece. I'll talk about next week, or actually Wednesday, once we get done with the critique, on kind of my approach to clothing. But it's definitely absolutely like separate pieces. So, and the way like for him, since he's already up, so like he has like these big goofy glasses, and so those are like a separate subtool. His horns, which could totally like just be a part of his normal sculpt, I kept them as a separate piece because it's going to be a different type of shader that's going to be on it. The shirt is a different subtool, like I was mentioning before, because you do not want to sculpt shirts and clothing onto the base mesh by itself. I think he has pants. Where are his pants? His teeth right here, separate subtool as well. Which where are his teeth? Oh yeah, so they're just inside of his head. So I just stuck him in there. I was thinking he had like teeth like stuck out a little bit, but maybe not. But anyway, so separate stuff. And oh yeah, he has little booty shorts on. And also a beard? Yeah, I made him a beard too. Yeah, he's got little booty shorts. So yeah, anyway, once you finish retopologization, then this mesh is what I would consider rig ready. You could take it and start adding bones to it and joints and joints and bones are the same thing, but you could start adding joints to it and then creating a real skeleton for it and control scheme and actually animate it after that. Okay. All right. Any questions about this demo went over today? No? It's kind of tedious, so I probably would find some good music to listen to while you're doing it. Something that'll keep you awake.
It'll take like not a long time, but a good amount of time. But it's like you're just doing like 1 or 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of steps.
No, there's not a lot of steps, but you kind of have to keep track of what you're doing. Otherwise, you'll get kind of lost and come up with something that doesn't really function properly. So I really do stand by trying to separate it out in like multiple parts because I really do feel like it makes it a lot easier for me. Because then you're basically just connecting the islands once you're finished. And it's a lot more workable. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop there for today. The rest of the class is going to be basically finishing up your creatures. So these are going to be due on Wednesday. We will have a full critique on Wednesday and look at, we'll probably look at everyone's creature. And then you guys will get started on the next project. All right?
And
Yes.
it says in the description for like this project, like how you want us to turn it, right?
Honestly, for the one that you're turning in on Wednesday, that's what you're talking about. Just give me your Z tool.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just look at the Z tools. All right. Cool. All right. Well, get to work, guys. I will upload this video as soon as I can. It'll be up on the OneDrive.